Hi everybody, welcome back to Canadian Canoe Paddlers UK. Just now coming into the second week of September really. Been a busy couple of weeks for me, so not had much of an opportunity to film when I've been out on the water, although I have been paddling quite a bit. So Friday afternoon, had a difficult week at work, a few busy meetings, and I thought I would head over to Dedham for a little bit of a paddle, just to unwind really. So just here at Dedham, paddling down towards Flatford. Just out in the Wildfire today. Nice and easy to put on the roof. It's only 12 kilos, and the wind speed here at Dedham today is probably about 5 miles an hour. It's getting a little bit cooler than it has been. I think the temperature when I last looked in the car was about 16 degrees, so just a comfortable temperature really to paddle. Brought with me today my badger tail. Hopefully you can see it here. Really enjoying this paddle, and I've also brought along my badger tripper, which is the Kevin Callan limited edition. I noticed last weekend, because the weather was just abysmal for wind to go for a paddle, so I took the opportunity to apply some yakka tape, which was kindly supplied by Gary. I think he still has the listings on eBay. I've got this on my Prospector, and I think it's been on the Prospector probably coming up for 18 months. No issues with it, does exactly what it says on the tin, and compared to others that I've seen, it's relatively cheap. So took the opportunity, as I say, to apply the yakka tape to the Wildfire last weekend, and I'd also noticed that where I've been paddling in some shallower waters, there was a couple of marks on the paddles that I'd been using. So I took the opportunity to put some tongue oil on them. Really just followed the instructions from Mike at Badger Paddles, and that was simply apply the oil, let it soak in for a little bit, then rubbed it in with some 400 grit wet and dry sandpaper, and then just polished off the excess. And really quite pleased with the result. I've noticed that the cherry wood particularly is darkening over time, which gives it a good effect. And just trying to look after the kit when you don't have the opportunity to paddle, I guess. You probably heard then I just dinked the paddle on the bottom, because it's the water levels are pretty low here at Dedham and Flatford at the moment. I believe it's about 2 miles each way, 2.25 miles, something like that. So for an evening paddle, it's actually quite good, because it's just long enough, particularly now that the evenings are drawing in. You can kind of get down there, have a coffee, and then start to head back, and time wise it seems to work out okay. So as I said earlier, I'm in the Wildfire today. I'm fortunate enough that I have a Swift Prospector as well, which is a great boat to load up for day trips and obviously tandem. For me though, the Wildfire, being a dedicated solo boat, is just so very easy to chuck on the roof. My Prospector is really tight on the Thule wing bars that I have on my car, so I have to be quite careful when loading it, whereas the Wildfire just simply sits on the top nicely. No worries about it falling off the other side when I've got it on the yoke. And just really quite a quick boat, the Wildfire. It's brought my paddling technique on no end, I think, since owning the boat. Certainly with the Wildfire having 2.5 inches of rocker at each end, sometimes you can paddle it up the river and its tail will twitch away like a duck, but what it has taught me is that you can control the boat not only with a J stroke but a C into a J, and also doing a Canadian stroke. You can, as you bring the paddle forward in the water, you can actually pull the nose round, and yeah, it's really quite a playful boat. Absolutely love it. Generally the swans on the Stour are pretty used to paddlers. There is, however, one up near Sudbury. There's a pub up there called the Henny Swan, and the swan up there is notorious for not being very friendly. A couple of years ago, when I had my plastic Novacraft, there was a swan that literally kept us on the dock just pecking at the side of the boat for a good 10 or 15 minutes, which looking back on it was quite comical, but not so much when you're in a hurry to get underway onto the next part of the river. You can see on the paddle, hopefully, there is some, they're bound in chamois. This is because quite often I tend to run the gunnel, and I find this quite a comfortable way to paddle actually. Pick this up really off watching the various videos that Ray Goodwin has on his channel. If you've not seen them, they're absolutely fantastic to give you an insight into the different types of paddling strokes, how to use them and what they're for. I'm, as I said earlier, I'm by no means an expert, but with the help of Ray's videos, and also actually Kevin Callan is another guy that I quite like to watch on YouTube. It's given me the opportunity to try and learn, teach myself and develop, and I can quite comfortably keep the boat going straight now with absolutely no effort. The thing that I do need to start doing is building up my strength paddling on the other side of the boat. Not sure if you can see this, but I've got a cow for company that looks like he's about to lay in the water. Should just be able to pick him up on the camera now, right behind me. Just filming this on a DJI action camera. I've kind of been tinkering about a little bit with various different tripods and mounts, etc. I did try to put a regular tripod in the boat, but that was never really that successful for me. Had to lash it down against the thwarts, etc., in the boat. And excuse me, with the Wildfire, you've literally got just 2 thwarts, one just behind the paddling station and the other one literally just in front of me here. So I've now got a DJI telescopic pod, and I bought a Manfrotto clamp, which, to be honest, you could argue is probably overkill for the DJI camera. The thing is, though, I do have full frame DSLRs, so they come in useful for that if I'm shooting weddings, for example. And yeah, just tinkering about with it. So it's got a ball head on top of the clamp, and then at the other end there is another ball head, and then on top of that you've got the quick release DJI mount. So at the moment it's all a bit of a learning curve. The video quality and the content is probably not up to the standard of many people on YouTube, but yeah, I do this just for fun, really. I'm not an expert paddler, certainly not an expert with a action camera. Yeah, just do it for enjoyment and to relax. What better place to do this than on the river like it is this evening? Literally pretty much nobody about, and can just paddle away, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the wildlife. A couple of weeks ago I saw 2 muntjac literally peering through some nettles at me, which was the first time actually I've ever seen any muntjac between Dedham and Flatford. I've seen one once before, but that was under the bridge that goes over the river, which is part of the A12, and it's just near the toll booth restaurant, which has got quite a good reputation locally. The food there is lovely. As you can imagine, it's not cheap, but if you're in the area, well worth a visit. here over on the left you can see that there is a portage point. It's not actually ideal for canoes really, because you can see that it's got all those poles there. I do believe though that the Environment Agency are looking at replacing them. Literally at Flatford Mill now, which is just past the boats, hopefully, that you can see ahead of you. So that's Flatford Mill, and I do believe, although I'm not 100% sure, that the cottage that you can see beyond the boats is called Willie Lott's Cottage. Absolutely stunning old building. Not sure of the date, I think it's 14th century, but if you're bothered, that's something that you would need to check. And there we are. That is Dedham to Flatford Mill. The building over on the right is the National Trust tea rooms. So they do a mean cheese toastie in there, and they also do some good coffee as well. Like most National Trust places though, it's not the cheapest of places, but I'm a firm believer that you do get what you pay for. So yeah, well worth a visit. And there it is there over on the right. Just heading back upstream. The flow of the river's not too bad today, but as you may well have noticed, I've just switched out from the badger tail and I'm going to paddle back using the tripper. The tripper has got the Northwoods grip handle, and that's really comfortable for me to use actually, but I just thought I'd switch out the paddles because the tripper pushes slightly less water and I can increase the cadence of my strokes more comfortably. Just conscious that the sun is now going down and I need to get back to the car. I do occasionally use a double played paddle with the Wildfire. More so from an exercise point of view really, just that it exercises a different muscle set, and as you can probably tell by the size of my belly, I'm not one for going to the gym, so cycling, walking my dog, paddleboarding and canoeing are really the only sort of forms of exercise I tend to enjoy. So I find the double blade into a headwind is absolutely more efficient, at least for me. The double blade that I've got is a 260 centimetre wide one, and the nice thing about that is it's got the blades on it are for a low paddle angle, but also being 260 centimetres, I find that the boat stays nice and dry. I have seen people in a Canadian canoe using shorter double blades, and the boat just fills with water, which can't be much fun really, particularly if you've got some expensive camera equipment and stuff like that on board. I tend to carry with me an Autoliebe, I believe it's called. It's an Autoliebe dry holdall. So I've had dry bags in the past, but I find it so frustrating with the dry bag that always, when they've got the roll neck top and they're almost like a tube, that whatever I want is always at the bottom of the bag, and it becomes infuriating. So the holdall that I've got is the same principle, but the great thing about the Autoliebe holdall is it's got a really wide neck, and so you're kind of looking at things in the bag that are side by side, rather than the fact that they've all been stacked on top of each other, which I find quite good really. The other nice thing about the bag is, spookily enough, the two of the straps that are on the bag will hook nicely around the thwart that is behind the seat, so I'm able to roll over the bag and seal it, and then strap it to the thwart. So if I do go over, as in fact I did the other week at Neyland, completely got thrown out the boat because I was trying to catch my hat that had been knocked off by a branch. The fact that the bag was strapped to the thwart that's behind the seat meant that everything stayed in the bag. Had my car keys in my PFD pocket. Thankfully they were in a little plastic bag, and I never had any issues starting the car or even afterwards. And my iPhone was also in my PFD pocket, and I believe they're now waterproof to something like IP6 to 2 meters. So again, that was fine. Surprisingly, my Apple Watch also was unaffected. I didn't even realise that they were waterproof at all, unless it was just sheer luck. But yeah, having the bag strapped into the canoe saved all of my kit. If you are on Facebook, have a look at Canadian Canoe Paddlers UK on there, and if you like what you see, then join us. We've currently got, I believe, getting on for 3,300 members. So yeah, so that's it from me. I'm going to stop talking now. I'm boring myself, so I'm probably doing the same to you guys. Whatever you're up to at the weekend, have a good weekend, and if you're on the water, stay safe and just enjoy being out in nature. Paddles up, people.